You're muted.
I'm muted. Hello.
Hello.
All right, well, it's 1 o'clock, and since you and I are both here, that's a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started. I think Ms. Robine was planning to be in person, so she might very well be on her way.
Okay.
All right, so today, November 7th, this is the policy committee, and we are conducting this meeting via hybrid video conferencing. We have Dr. Wisniewski joining us via Zoom, and Miss Wendy Cartledge. Are you on Zoom too? No. Okay. All right.
So you have on Zoom.
That's all you have on Zoom. Okay. All right, great. So let's go ahead and begin the meeting by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, today's agenda. Dr. Wisniewski, would you want to make a motion to approve today's agenda?
Sure. I move that we approve the agenda for November 7th.
Thank you very much. I will second that. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Right on time.
Fabulous. So Dr. Wisniewski made the motion. I seconded, and it was unanimous. And Ms. Robine has joined us. Thank you, Kathy. Do we have any public comment, Robin? No. Okay. And how about a motion for the approval of the October 21st committee meeting minutes?
I move that we approve the October 21st committee meeting minutes.
I second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. All right. The first item on our agenda is the board's policy handbook. The reason we are bringing this forward is that there was some discussion, I don't even remember how long ago, about some additional documents that should be added to the handbook. And this is very timely because election is coming up tomorrow, and there may be several new members on the board. And this handbook is really meant to be an addendum. Well, it is an addendum to the policy, but it's to give that information to the new board members or existing board members of things that don't rise to the policy level. So basically what we need here is have a discussion on where some of these items should go. Should we still include them or not? The first thing on the initial documents to be added was FOIA information. So at some point, a question came up: should we add, the FOIA statute or criteria requirements to the handbook? Any thoughts on that?
I think I don't know if we have any, I know that when we first were seated, there were multiple different little pamphlets, and I think I might even have some here on my bookshelf. I'm looking to see if I have them over here. They were very thin little pamphlets. So I don't know if we have anything like that for FOIA. And I don't know if that could be included in a new member package. I know.
Also, that's what I put in the new member orientation packet, but if you want that in the handbook, I
was just wondering if there was a way to reference that so that we're not duplicative or anything.
I don't know how, but well, tell me how we'll do it.
So for sure, there's one on FOIA. I remember one on like
we give
finance.
Yes, I give you the one with finance. We have a little FOIA handbook. I think I can run down and get my orientation notebook.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if we look at that, then that will give us a little bit of guidance on what is necessary, if we can condense it down at all.
Yes, I agree with that. Even if it's just a line that says board members will receive a copy of the title of that so that it would at least jog someone to say, hey, listen, I haven't gotten this, or, you know.
Yeah, and like maybe saying, please see the board secretary if you've lost your copy or you need another one, whatever.
Right, so, you know, if you look at OE 16, which is about FOIA, that talks about, you know, the superintendent shall follow the requirements of FOIA, but it doesn't, and it also goes into what the monitoring report will look like. But that's about all it tells about FOIA. So I thought, you know, some information would be a good thing.
I think we have an AR on FOIA that's really explicit about how many days you know, have to respond and that kind of thing. I thought it was an AR. I know
So
I've
that-
read that before.
But Kathy, that, you know, along with what Rachel is saying, we could have, you know, reference this little pamphlet that Robin, you know,
Mhm.
and then also MCAR such and such.
Oh, it's OE 16. It's its own. Sorry.
Right, that's right, but it doesn't go into like the statute, it just references the statute by saying, Title 30, Chapter 4, excuse me, bless you.
Is there an AR then?
I mean, I knew it was OE 16,
Yeah.
I guess, look at,
I don't.
I think the big thing is that board members need to be familiar with FOIA and, you know, what the requirements and parameters are. But operationally, you know, that is the superintendent and the district staff that take care of it. We don't even typically see them except for what's required in the monitoring report. So,
Right.
I don't think we have to get too lengthy, but it is extremely important for board members to be familiar with what the parameters are.
right, well, I'm all about not being redundant, and so, okay, Robin, want to share what that is?
I'm trying to figure out how to put it where she can see.
Oh,
Sorry.
Oh, can you see it?
Yeah, so we could, I think, say, additional, I guess under that additional info area, maybe, I think we should have a title that says new board member materials, and perhaps list all of those materials that include FOIA. And then have a notation that says, if you need an additional copy, please reach out to the board secretary. And I think that the OE suffices in that regard, and then the AR is the district. So I don't. That's a suggestion. I don't know if it's.
I think that's a good suggestion. I agree that it is something that is part of our lives for sure, and to be aware of what is FOIA-able and everything. So, you know, just referencing that every board member should have or can receive this Public Officials Guide to Compliance with South Carolina's Freedom of Information Act.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if there's an updated one. This is five years old, but you know.
It's the most recent one.
Yes.
I haven't seen another. one
Okay.
since then.
So I, you know, like Rachel, would you just, Robin was doing multitasking as you suggested that. Would you repeat that, please?
So what am I doing?
Yeah, so where it says, hang on, I'm gonna pull it up on my board docs here and. So
I'm showing it. Oh, can't see the screen.
Okay. Hang on.
See, share.
Page 80. For the handbook? I mean, for the-
Yeah. That's where it's listed.
It's the last page, and can you see it?
Right,
Uh-huh.
page 80, where at the bottom it's got the bold and it says additional documents to be added. I think instead of it saying additional documents to be added, we should, I don't think that's an appropriate title there. I think it should say, you know, new board member materials, and then bullet point what is included in that, because it's probably more than the FOIA.
Yes.
And then under that is where we could get into, I'm not sure what the others are. But I think those should be their own headings, essentially.
Well, so I agree, Rachel. That additional documents to be added was really not meant, I mean, it was meant as like a reminder, like we
Right.
need to talk about this.
Yeah.
So if you go down to the 1, 2, 3, the fourth bullet, it talks about the guiding principles of coherent governance. So
Uh-huh.
with your title, with your heading, we could add the FOIA and then we could add this book.
Because they get the book.
Right.
Right.
So
And I think
that
there's
was,
some others too. There was some other documents, like you said, Kathy, the financial one.
Yeah, they get that.
Yeah.
The board member,
They get a notebook. So in the notebook, they get the roles for board member service, so they get that information.
from the School Boards Association. right?
Yes.
Okay,
Actually, maybe. Actually, maybe all of, maybe all of those could just go in in that book. Because now that I'm looking at like board references and the procurement code, that could be a tab in the new board member books.
Because they get that. We in the orientation, what we do is we give them a link to the procurement code. We give them a link to the comprehensive book, and then they actually get a book. They get your 10,
Right.
what used to be the 10-year, they get that book as well.
the facilities book.
Yeah, so
yeah. So what Rachel's suggesting, I think, is that all these bullets except for, well, like bullet 1, bullet 3, and 4, and the last bullet could all be included under this new title. So you've got the FOIA information, roles and responsibilities of board members. Because the only roles and responsibilities we have in this, in our policies are of the officers. Guiding principles of coherent governance and board references in the BCSD procurement code. Am I understanding your suggestion correctly, Rachel?
Yes, ma'am. I
Yeah.
think the only difference is that Robin mentioned a link that they're given for the procurement code. And I think that board references in the procurement code was actually, we had gone through and highlighted the board's responsibilities that were in there. So I think that might be an actual document we have somewhere.
yes, I have it. So we can,
But the procurement code changed in July 1.
yes, so the references are old now.
Right, so,
Probably, yeah.
yeah, so, I think all that would be really good to put in this handbook. I do have a note to myself that maybe knowing that the procurement code changed, that we should refer this to the finance committee. And ask them to, review it and for inclusion in the handbook.
That would be good. And then the list. And then
Right.
under the roles and responsibility of board members, that is statute 59-19-90, general powers and duties of school trustees. So we can include that in there. Okay.
Okay, so to recap, there's going to be an additional section in the handbook that is basically, what board members will receive. It'll be the FOIA information.
Roles and responsibilities,
The
the guiding principles of a coherent governance, and board references to the BCSD procurement code.
Right.
And there's other things too, Robin. So if you want to list all those things that are included in that orientation packet that new board members get, I think that would be pertinent so that there's nothing left off, 10 years from now.
Okay.
And then that acceptable use policy, OS 39, that might be a good thing to include in there.
That
So
all the
there's
students
no-
have to sign?
That everybody is
The
supposed to
board
sign.
members sign that when they do their paperwork, when I hire them.
Yeah, but it's just that,
It's not in this, when they actually do their new, the board members have a new hire packet.
and
So they have to do that because they can't get their device without signing it. So that's what it comes
But I think
in.
your point is as a refresher.
yeah, it's right, just because to remind that is something that is part of the duties and responsibility. I mean, it's part of complying with the requirements.
So we don't make you all sign it over again, so. Do I put your new hire packet in this because it's separate?
No,
Just
what
for
I,
reference.
just for reference,
So
yeah.
then do I reference all of everything in your new hire packet?
What else is in there?
That's
Yeah.
my point. Do I
What else
reference
is in
everything
there?
in
Yeah,
your new
what
hire
else is
packet?
in there?
That was 4 years ago.
So, I do a membership survey thing to have you sign. You will do the user acceptable use so that you can get your device.
Yeah, right?
Your deposit, direct deposit, have to do the sign thing with where I get your social security and your driver's license and your thing saying that you're an American citizen and not I forget that form, the AI, whatever that form is.
Yeah.
It's a new hire pack. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Accept or use policy reference. Have it in there.
I think that's a good idea, just considering just how important technology is in our responsibilities, that it's not a bad idea just to have that form in there.
Okay.
Just to remind us that
We signed.
we signed this.
Mhm.
We need to abide by it.
Yes.
It's an inventory of, so that someone can look back and say, okay, these things were what I did, when I was onboarded. Basically, it's just like being onboarded to a company. You have your checklist.
Right.
So this is kind of serving as a checklist for anybody that comes on board.
But not necessarily have to put in like the W-2 and whatever.
Right, so that it-
No.
It's not personal information.
Yeah.
No.
Okay,
So that's full, when we say new board materials, so should I list new hire packet and not have to list the individual, but just say the new hire packet? Or don't even put that and just put the acceptable use policy?
Is it included in?
The acceptable use policy is part of the new hire packet. So when you said like the onboarding that we have a checklist which you go through, which is the new hire packet, without listing it individually like the W-2, the blah, 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 do we just list the new hire packet?
I think we should list the OS 39 acceptable use separately.
Okay.
And it's included in the new hire packet. That's not, the important thing here is that people know they have to sign that. And they know,
In order to get your devices, you have to.
yeah.
But no,
and
that's-
and my-
You have to live by it.
Buy it and do
Right.
it, yeah.
right.
And, somebody might be looking at this who's already on the board and saying, oh yeah, I signed something like that, I better look and see what it says.
Yeah.
Refresh it, like
Yeah.
that.
And it's all in one place.
Yeah.
Which would be nice, so. Okay, do we have a common understanding here? Do we need to? Robin, are you good? Because you are the,
Yeah.
you are the
So,
implementer of this.
So I'm removing additional documents to be added. So what I'm putting in place is new board members material, and under new board material would be the FOIA, roles and responsibilities, the guiding principles, or reference to the policy, blah, blah, blah.
Procurement code.
The procurement code and acceptable use policy.
Right,
And then I'll do that statute and send it to you.
and so, we skipped over this second bullet said legal
Yes.
document. So what did you mean when that was put in there? Do you remember,
Yeah.
Wendy?
About the,
The second bullet right here, we said legal documents.
You said
Remember what
legal
the-
documents and what legal
I
documents.
was meaning the references to the board, that 59, 19.
Okay, that's right here, this role
Yeah,
and responsibilities,
right, and
okay.
And then I pulled a lot of the different statutes and things, but that would go on forever and ever, so I don't-
Right, you pulled all of this and we're like,
we don't need all of that.
right, you did all of this.
I did all that.
Yeah. I just think the rules and responsibilities is a good one to have in here. Okay,
Madam Chair,
sure, yes, Rachel.
do we know if the South Carolina School Board Association has, like Wendy was mentioning, all the statutes that reference beyond just state statute, section 59, chapter 19, there's others that reference, well, the school board is in charge of this and the school board is in charge of that. There are statutes outside of there, and Wendy mentioned that could be lengthy. Is there something that maybe the State School Board Association has compiled that we could disseminate to new members?
I can ask them. One of the things I do want to let you all know, when I did this research to try to find all the different code sections, when I was reviewing them, for example, there was some statutes in there about bonds. And I called up Franny Heiser and I said, I don't remember the board or anything, but she was saying to me, a lot of these statutes that are in effect are going to need to be repealed because that is not the school boards within the purview anymore. So there's some that are really old, but then there's other things in there that talk about the board expect that you can expel a student who's brought a firearm to school for up to a year. There's a statute on that. I mean, but within our notebook, our board notebook, there's statutes that talk about teacher dismissal hearings. We got that covered within our policy manual, our coherent governance manual. So there just were so many.
Yeah.
States, and there were so.
And that's kind of my main concern is that we don't necessarily have anything that's a compilation of all the South Carolina state statutes that says these are all of our roles and responsibilities. You would think it would all be found in section 59, chapter 19, but it's not. And
there's a lot in chapter 25. There's a lot in there.
So I don't know what the answer is, but if I'm looking for guidance on that from perhaps the State School Board Association to see if you would think they've got something. So maybe we could reach out to them and see if that could be included with the new member materials as well.
All right, I'll ask them about that.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, that would be good information to have instead of just finding out as a situation arises.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Couple of other things I had questions about if we want to include. Our school board goals. The school board goals.
Mhm.
Do we want to put those in our handbook? And if so, where do we put them?
Thoughts? Well, the goals may change,
Right.
and the handbook is supposed to be, well, I guess, I mean, it can be amended, but I don't know.
So you all have not changed the goals
Yeah, I
since
don't,
2019,
when we first came on.
when you all first came on. And the goals are on the agenda. I mean, that's what your meeting agenda is based off of every meeting. So I don't know if this is something that you all want in the handbook or not.
You know what, you make a really good point, Robin, because it hasn't been updated since 2019 and perhaps it will be something that the new board looks at. So again, I think that maybe even if it was just a bullet point that says that the goals are something that is included in the new materials so that they are aware of, okay, there are guiding goals. And if we want to change them, we need to have a focus on them. Because in that way, you don't have to actually put the document in here in the handbook since they do change, but there is a reference point to it.
So it is in the orientation. I do it's in a section where I have Beaufort County Board Facts. So it says Act 99, what that is, what your compensation is. And then I have the goals, our goals as of 2017. So that's in the orientation book that they get.
Okay.
I'd like to suggest that maybe it be placed in the results section of our policy manual. So if you look like on page 71 of 70, yes, page 71, it's the beginning of the results. And I don't think it would be a bad idea to insert a page there and date it. Okay, these are 2007,
2019.
2019, goals, and then established 2019, because our results are based on our goals are what, we're interested in, and then the results that we assess are based on those goals.
Mm-hmm.
So I think putting them in there, and sure, you're right, Rachel, the next board should absolutely review those and determine whether they're still applicable and what the board wants to focus on, but that might be the right place to put it.
Do we have to make an addendum to policy then? Because this is the results, this policy. So,
What, just an insert of the already established, a piece of paper in there that said, I'm not saying,
yeah,
I'm just saying include, we already have it, that these are the goals, but just printing it out and putting it here in the beginning. So that to reference,
so we don't have to,
Since you've already approved them.
right, it's not that we're
Right,
changing
right,
them, we're
right.
just making them.
right,
Yeah.
Rachel, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm indifferent. As to how it's set up. I just think it's something that they, in some one fashion or another, they need to know about. So
Right, right.
yeah.
So you're saying place them on the results section on the first page, right in front of the
Yeah,
What
I mean,
pages
I just
that
think they should be printed out and placed somewhere, whether it's in the results or it's in this introduction. You know, back in the beginning, where remember David drew this graphic,
Mhm.
What
just-
page is that again?
in our policy book,
Yeah. What
there's
page?
the introduction
Page 6.
and background. And then on page 5 is definitions, page 6 was that graphic that David drew. And I just, you know, to put the goals listed in there. And I just say it makes sense to have them somewhere in our notebook.
I would suggest if they could become page 7. So we have like you said, the introduction, we have the graph, and then the next page should be the goals.
That's a great place for them too. It's kind of front and center and
Yeah,
That's
I
what
like,
we put.
I like them back there instead of the results. I think they'll get lost in that results section, because the results section is, but
I think it should be added.
Yeah.
I think they have it in our policy.
I'll add it right behind the mission, vision, belief,
yeah.
because that would be my next,
So page 7.
so it would become page 7.
You go with that, Rachel?
Yeah, I was trying to, when I'm looking at it online, it's, you can't see it by the numbers, the page numbers.
Oh,
So,
oh, okay. So do you remember the graphic that David drew?
yeah,
Okay,
it's
so the next page.
the next page after,
There is
That's
no page. Right.
it just
There
says
is nothing.
before GC starts.
Correct.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay,
Is Earl trying to talk, or
Is
was it William or somebody was trying to talk? I thought, is that Earl?
that is Earl. Hi, Mr. Campbell. You should.
You're muted.
I just did you hear someone trying to, I heard something.
I think I was talking to Rachel. But,
Okay.
Mr.
No, I'm
Campbell,
not. No, I'm not. I don't have anything to say. I was listening.
okay, thank you, sir. All right. All right, so I think that dispenses with, oh, no, it doesn't. I'm sorry. Let's look at bullet number
Yes,
1, 2, 3, 4, bullet number 5.
board members building access and available devices.
So we put this in here just to remember that this is now policy. Because remember, we moved that I move effective October 22nd, 2020, that board members' badges will provide access to district office only. So that's a policy that belongs in the policy section. So I have a recommendation just to expedite things, but GC 3.9. So if we could turn to GC 3.9 and just see if you all agree that that might be a good place. If not, open to suggestions. Let's see what page that would actually be.
18, I think.
Thank you,
Yes.
GC 3. Okay, page 18, all right, GC 3.9. Members shall make official visits to schools only upon knowledge of the principal or designee. Board members shall not unnecessarily interfere with the day-to-day operations of the school or work location or with the work being performed by employees assigned to that school or work location. My suggestion would be to add it right there where it's badges board members' badges will provide access to district office only, and then in parentheses, put the motion date likely.
Yeah,
That makes total sense.
Okay,
GC 3.9.
Oh,
Page 18.
So because that's already policy, but we're just codifying or putting it into a spot, there's no need for a reading on that. Is that accurate? We just need to bring that forward in your committee report?
Correct, because you already voted on it.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
And I just didn't have a place, we put it in there under the handbook, but we just didn't have a place. Well, I didn't know where to put it in our policy.
Makes sense.
so I agree. We just need
Yes.
to just notify that that's where that motion will now be placed. And the new policy committee might need to, once again, find all the new motions that have been made since the printing of this and determine, you know, maybe some need to go inside the policy in different places, so. All right,
So Rob, so just to make sure I'm on the same page as everybody, so if SCSBA does have some type of document that covers all of the board's roles under South Carolina law, we're gonna incorporate that into the new member materials and list that here. If they have it, if they don't, then we'll figure out if we need to further action, but
Okay,
And we can use the research that we did before, if we need to.
well, it's old now, according to you, so we would still have to, I mean, some of it is, and as you were saying, some of it is changed.
I mean, most of it is in statute, some of those are old that haven't been repealed yet.
but they haven't been repealed, which means there's still law, so.
right.
Gotcha.
So you did an awful lot of work with that, Wendy. Compiling all the things.
Probably you handed it to me again.
So it's electronic, so
No, it's not.
Oh, it's
It can
not.
be.
It can be.
Why don't you-
we could add a link to, I mean,
Yeah.
Rachel, Robin has a 40-page document with citations of how board's responsibilities that Wendy compiled and you both compiled.
Yeah, I can tell you that.
I want to get credit where credit was due.
That's right. She does everything. She's amazing. Yeah.
That we could actually put a link in the handbook
Yes,
to that instead.
exactly.
Yeah,
A link,
I
link would
think
be better.
Yeah, a link, yeah.
a link would be better, and then maybe indicate to them if they wanted a printed copy, we could get them one kind of thing. Some people are more paper people. I am one of those, but let's save some trees if we can. And
Okay, great. All right, so we'll do that.
So that goes under new board member material, and that would be another bullet if we don't have something from the School Boards Association. Where it's compiled all together. If the School Boards Association does not have anything that's compiled all together, then we will use this with links, correct?
yes, ma'am.
I
Yeah.
agree, gotcha, yeah.
And we could also send it up to the School Boards Association, see if they have anything that incorporates a lot of the statutes they make. We could do that.
We pay a hefty membership fee, so I'd be perfectly fine with doing that.
All right. Okay, I think that is all that we had noted for the handbook that we needed some decisions on.
Yes.
I entered that sentence in the preposition. On which we needed some decisions, about which we needed some decisions. Okay, next thing on our agenda is, let's see here.
We need to try to get Mr. Flowers on.
He's already.
Is he on? Oh, great.
Hi, Mr.
Hi,
Flowers.
Mr. Flowers, thanks for joining us.
Hello, yes, thank you.
We are so glad to see you. How's your conference?
It's been great so far.
Good, well, we hope that we can get you back to it as soon as possible
Yes.
by, we included this back on today's agenda and didn't bring it forward in its entirety to the board last meeting because there were some thoughts about some changes that need to be made, so. Why did you want to do that?
Sure. I
Flowers,
mean,
that's good.
we'll do it together.
Okay,
So what happened was, before we had the board meeting, Dr. Watts had contacted us and had told us that on section 2B, that is a statute that we quoted, where it says instructional unit material made available by the board, that actually refers to, and Nick put that in brackets, the South Carolina State Board of Education. And then what happened was we read through everything and we tried to make things read a little bit more clearly. So in other words, at the very beginning, background, the abbreviation or whatever for Health Advisory Committee was HAC. So we went back through to try to catch all of those.
Okay.
Then we wanted, as you'll see in 2B, we bracketed the South Carolina State Board of Education. Then we quoted the statute again. Then we referred to the South Carolina Comprehensive Health Education, actually Act. You see that right there, Act right there. I missed that. We missed that. Okay, we'll fix that.
Okay.
Okay, then the other thing that we did was we were talking about selection of the committee members, and we, since it's a board committee, we, you know, the actual resumes or letter of interest will be going to Robin, and then the superintendent designees can review them with her. The applications that come in, and then again, South Carolina Comprehensive Health Education Act. And then the duties, we were modeling after what we do with the board. So the chairperson, in cooperation with the executive secretary, or executive administrative assistant, would prepare the agenda, and then the draft would go out like we do now to the members. And then there would be a final agenda that would go out. And then you'll see here, we crossed out of education because we're referring to the Board of Education as the board. And then at the top of page 4, you see they will prepare the final agenda and post that within 24 hours of the meeting as required by law. And then the vacancies again, we crossed out the BCSD Board of Education, just left a board, and then we kept referring it to South Carolina Health Education Act. And then again, we were trying our best to try to make it consistent throughout the document. And then on number 4, Roman number 4 procedure, we just called the South Carolina Comprehensive Health Education Act. So we just thought it was better to write it out. That's what we're trying to do.
So there was really no substantive changes to the content. It was really just clarifying and
The main thing was that, and I appreciate Dr. Watts saying that, was that she thought that the way we had it before, that it was confusing under 2B, because where it says local boards may use the instructional unit made available by the board, it's actually the State Board of Education.
Right.
She thought it was reading.
Yeah, well, it's right from the statute.
It's from the statute,
Yeah.
yeah, so I know it sounds funny, but it's literally
So,
what it says.
I have a question about 5B. We
We
did make a little bit of change there that I want to make sure I understand. It says each nominee or individual who wishes to serve shall submit a resume or letter of interest to the board's executive administrative assistant. Before it was the board's designee. These applicants shall be reviewed and screened by the executive assistant and superintendent's designee. So I want to know, what does reviewed and screened mean? And then is Robin just, I don't think we want, I don't think we want to
Just the
make any
collector.
decisions. And then shall be presented to the academics committee of the board, which will recommend a slate of nominees.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure that, we don't want to put Robin in a position where she gets the letters and. Right. So what is she looking for exactly when she reviews and screens them?
I mean, Nick, do you have any comments about reviewing and screening them when you talk with Charleston?
I think the main thing there is Robin will be the collector and everything to ensure that all of them are accounted for. And then whoever then Dr. Rodriguez delegates to start the process of actually diving into them and organizing, more than likely it would fall to myself or whoever's over health education. And it's just that was the way to word it, so it doesn't say, the ISD person, so the board's directing the superintendent, then we'll delegate it out, if you will. I think that's where we were targeting. So then whoever it is that's working, that Dr. Rodriguez has working on it, then would work with Robin then to be able to get the materials and package them up then for the committee.
So given Ms. Robine's concerns about how it's read, do you have a suggestion about maybe how you might, these applicants' letters will be compiled by the executive administrative assistant, period. The superintendent's designee will review for completion and will something like that instead, just to break it up.
These applicants should be reviewed, trained by the superintendent's designee. Yeah,
Madam-
just take me out.
Rachel has something.
Rachel?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a suggestion that second sentence in 5B say these applicants shall be collected by the executive administrative assistant or superintendent's designee and shall be presented to because in that way it says it'll either go to, Mr. Flowers in one case or to the administrative assistant. But they'll just be collected because I think when we say reviewed and screened, it gives the appearance that there's going to be a culling of those or a cleaning of them. And I think that the academics committee should be reviewing all of them.
Yeah, and that was my concern, the way it was written.
Well, we appreciate it. So what do you suggest for the, would you say it?
That-
The applicants shall be collected by the executive administrative assistant, is that what you said?
Or superintendent's designee, but should it be applications versus applicants?
The applicant's letter
Or something.
Yeah,
we're gonna gather everybody up.
All of you get in a room.
Yeah. The applicants' letters or.
Yeah, because it's.
Okay, the applicants' resumes and letters of interest.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. The applicants' resumes,
Or letters of interest.
letter of interest,
Or
letters of interest. Okay,
will be collected by the executive, is that what you said, Rachel?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
okay,
And
that
then-
sounds good. Will be collected by the board's administrative assistant, and then what happens after that?
And then you said. After that, Rachel?
I said say or instead of and, but if we think it should be if it should be a collective job, then that's up to you guys. I thought that or was kind of if Mr. Flowers is busy and he can delegate that to Robin or vice versa, just free
Sure.
up everybody's time.
So we're gonna put and or, correct? And
That
then, but so let's go back to the content here though. So Mr. Flowers, when you spoke to the state, was there kind of a screening process that was recommended prior to bringing them to the academics committee?
No, they leave that up to the local boards to decide.
Okay, I think then I totally agree that everything should be brought forward, anyone that's interested and nobody not given that opportunity and let the academic committee decide, okay.
And in conversation previously, if I remember correctly, we would, the academics committee, when they're reviewing the applications, because you'd be looking at specific applicants and all of that, they would go into more of an executive session of the committee to review the applicants and go through them, if I remember it correctly, from what Mrs. Cartledge and I had discussed. So then that way, you're not discussing and putting everything out there, if I remember correctly.
So would you like to include that in 5B, that part of the process?
We originally talked about doing it, but we opted not to. I don't remember the exact reasoning why. It was just kind of decided of doing that, and then the committee would just know when you're getting to that specific piece, they'll do executive session, but then when they're doing their formal motions and everything, they would go into the public piece.
Okay,
Madam Chair, if I may.
sure, yes.
Ms. Cartledge, is that an appropriate use of executive session? Because they're not being hired.
No, they're gonna be reviewed. They're gonna be reviewed in the academic committee.
But Nick
But,
is
I
saying,
mean, it's, yeah, I mean, Rachel, you raise a good point, because here's the thing. We're not hiring them.
Right.
And we can go in executive session for the receipt of legal advice.
Right.
But their personal information is there, so it is that.
I mean, if we gotta be careful with people's right privacy too.
Ladies' hands.
And we have to be, I mean, the thing that we need to be really careful about here is. We need to make sure that we're able to choose people who are going to be, objective, neutral, fair.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I'm not sure if that's an appropriate use of executive session. I do understand the private information, so maybe we need to get an opinion on that or something.
Yeah.
That's down the road anyways. I'm just asking, because things gonna change soon, so.
Yes, things
Yeah,
will
good
change a lot.
question.
No, I'm glad you said that, Rachel.
okay. So prior to doing this, Wendy, there were, when we crossed.
We don't have about
Yeah,
exact.
Okay, all right.
But can we read back, will somebody just read back to me everything, make sure that we've got, that Jillian, because Jillian's typing this, I make sure we got exactly what you all want, so it's correct.
These applicants' resumes or letter of interest
Letters of,
Letters,
okay,
okay.
that's okay.
shall be collected by the executive administrative assistant or superintendent's designee.
Okay, and then period, and then we say that, because maybe that's too long, and
They'll be screened by the academic committee,
the academic committee. of
or
the
no, they
board.
should be presented to the academic committee of the board.
So they're collected by the executive assistant or superintendent's designee, then they're presented to the academic committee
should be-
of the board.
Which you recommend, so, and shall be presented to the academic committee of the board, which shall recommend to the board a slate of nominees. Does that sound okay to y'all? Rachel, does that sound okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
William, did you have a comment?
Yes, I did. I did have one of the same questions Rachel was bringing about executive session, but also my question is to how, just in terms of private information, what private information would they necessarily have versus an applicant fill out an application?
Well, a lot of, we do not disclose people's private, of where their address of where they live and their personal phone numbers and their personal emails. We don't give out private information about individuals.
If they're submitting a resume, they usually have,
We'll have that information.
they'll have that information on the resume.
So we have to respect their right to privacy.
Well, there could be a clause. It could be a clause going into it, let them know that this information, that if any information that they're giving, could be public. Because my question is, at some point in time, could that not be FOIA? Does that fall under the FOIA law?
But if it were FOIA, Mr. Smith, what we would do is we would redact that personal information. We would still submit it under FOIA, but we would redact their personal information to protect their right to privacy.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so when this actually comes to pass, I think there's a little bit deeper discussion
Yeah.
that's gonna have to go into the process by which it is followed, so. Okay, so any other thoughts?
There was one other thing.
Okay.
I apologize to everybody under Roman numeral 3A. We need to add act, the South Carolina Comprehensive Application Act.
Right,
Yeah.
Rachel had her hand up.
okay, Rachel, did you have another comment?
Yes, ma'am. So the local advisory committee is the HAC, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so I think for consistency in 3A, instead of calling it local advisory committee, we should call it the HAC, because I see that we did do that in some other places.
Yes, I like that. Thank you.
And
And we took that from the statute, but it sounds better. Yes, thank you. It's a lot better. Mhm.
And then I think also another clarification on 5B and 8, 8A1, we refer to the executive administrative assistant, but then in 8A1, we call it, I think, executive secretary. So we just need to be consistent again there with the terminology.
Yeah, yeah. The
Is
administrative system is going to serve as a secretary. I know that is confusing there.
Is the executive secretary in 8A1, is that the board? The HAC's secretary?
So what I understood was, and Mr. Flowers, correct me if I'm wrong, was that in the other districts, they had the administrative assistant serve as executive secretary for this committee because it was a board committee.
Correct, yes, this would be the board's.
Okay. I think maybe, I don't know if there's like a place where we could add some clarifying language, because I see that it's under C of 8.
Or assistant shall serve as executive secretary.
Right, so I don't know if that could, maybe that goes as A and then it comes after for clarification. It's just, it was, for me, it was confusing to read. Because
Yeah.
it's two different titles for the same person.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Should we say the board's administrative, well, when we're in 5B, should we put like a parenthesis or say who also serves as the executive? I'm not sure how to make it clear. Because in one, in C1, we say the administrative system shall serve as the executive secretary.
Could you simply say in 7C that, that the board will appoint their executive administrative assistant, and then the duties shall include, and then you would end up listing, you would indent from there, and you would just list the duties right under there then.
Oh, say the board appoints the executive administrative assistant as the executive secretary. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Flowers?
Yes, or go.
I have another suggestion. Take out executive with secretary.
Yeah.
Let's say secretary.
Okay.
Secretary, and then executive's only in one title as opposed to in both.
Okay, I see what you're saying. That's very good. Okay, so we said here. We say in the 7C, the board, there's not C, the Board of Education is supposed to be the board. The board appoints the executive administrative assistant as the secretary, right? That sound good? Okay, that's a lot better.
So
Okay.
it's anywhere else where it refers to executive secretary, just change it to secretary so that there's no two executive positions.
Right. And then we'll just say the board instead of the Board of Education. Okay, thank you. That sounds a lot better. Thank you all.
And then that's the only nuanced stuff that I saw.
You're a very good editor. I really appreciate it. Okay,
All right.
okay.
And if I may add one other thing.
Yes,
Just
sir.
just based off of the feedback at the last meeting, the very last page, I kind of made a visual. So you can see how we would appoint people and the terms that they would serve. So then you would have that 3-year term and then how the cycle would start to get them on. So basically this first year, 4 would technically be up for a new term, and then 4 the following, and then 3. So you'd be on a 4-4-3 rotation cycle with the students always annually. So I just made that visual so you could see as a board how you're trying to maintain basically a third coming off at the same time. So you're not doing a whole new committee each year or have that potential every
Thank
3
you.
years.
That's very helpful. Thank you for that.
You are welcome.
I know, Mr. Flowers, you spent so much time contacting the state and other districts to make this be an effective committee. Thank you.
Yes, we appreciate everybody's input. All right, so Ms. Hartledge, we good? You got
Yeah,
the
I think so.
Joanne, you good? All right, Mr. Flowers, thank you so much. I think it was great that it was requested to review this, and these changes are going to make it much clearer. So
Thank you so much.
enjoy the rest of your conference.
Will do. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
bye-bye.
thank
Bye. All right, so we're going to hopefully have this to present to the next board meeting.
Yes.
Right,
November
okay.
18th.
Good night. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
November 18th, yeah.
and so Mr. Flowers will be available.
15th.
15, yes, 15, because 18.
The work session, yeah.
Mr. Flowers will be available.
I'm gonna send him a email right now.
Okay, and that would be down in Hilton Head.
But he'll probably participate.
That's fine, sure, okay. All right, the next thing on our agenda is the public comments card. So if you look in Board Docs, thank you, Robin, for putting in the copy of the public comments card. And if you look at our policy, they appear to be in conflict. Let's see, I had it. Okay, all right, here we go. When you look at J, so number 2, Roman numeral 2, J. All right.
Speakers should refrain.
Thank you. Speakers shall refrain from racial comments, obscenities, and vulgarities, shall not reference or make derogatory comments about specific individuals by name, and shall not commit other breaches of respect. Speakers may reference the names of specific board members, but such communications will not include gossip, defamatory words, or abusive and vulgar language. Okay, so that's what our policy says. Now you go to our public comments. And it says,
Refrain from racial.
all right, down the second bullet. So speakers addressing the board must refrain from racial comments, obscenities, vulgarities, and references to specific individuals by name, and nor commit other breaches of respect. So I think it's just important that we make sure that we're in alignment, our policies with our public comment card. And so I'm opening it up for discussion if anybody has any thoughts on this.
Should read, put J's entirety on the back of that comment card instead of where it says refrain from racial blah blah blah. That would become J in its entirety.
You know what, I think. The problem that I see with this is that names of specific board members will not include gossip, defamatory words, or abusive and vulgar language. I think when Mr.
Totally.
Hoagland was, talking and he kept saying William Smith, to me, that was abusive. So, but that's a judgment. That's not, so I'm not sure. The way it's written here, it doesn't say, it says you're not to make reference to anyone by name. So I'm in conflict with that. I think it opens us up a little bit by saying, okay, you can call school board members by name. You just can't be defamatory, abusive. And then somebody has to judge how, was this person being defamatory? I'm sure he would argue that he wasn't. So I don't know.
When you all were putting the policies together, when the policies were being written, if Rachel will recall, you all were trying to remove any verbiage that made it as a judgment call. So you were trying to put things in there where it can't be interpreted. It should be just factual. So I don't know what language that you use that.
Robin, did we add that line about speakers may reference the name of specific board members, or has that always been in the policy?
At this point, I
don't
don't changed it so much. I can't tell you what's there and what's not without going back.
Rachel, do you remember you on the original policy committee when we first came on the board. Do you have any recollection?
I don't recall if that was something that was like when we married up the Ori, policy.
That's
With-
right.
I don't know if it's something that we took from Ori or if that was in the original or if that was a recommendation from a policy committee. I really cannot remember. I agree that it's subjective based on, what the chair may consider. And I think to that regard, it's within the chair's purview to decide whether or not they want to shut down that, reference to a specific board member. I don't know.
So this is just an idea. I do believe that they should be in alignment at least, our policy on this. So on the public comment card, would it be better to just take out after vulgarities? So, okay, take out and references to specific individuals by name. So it just reads, refrain from racial comments, obscenities, vulgarities, and other breaches of respect. What are some thoughts on, just throwing out there some, at least that way, we're not saying you can't call a person by name. Because in our policy, we do say that we allow it.
I think the difference is that this first sentence where it talks about references to specific individuals, that could mean anybody. So
Right.
we in the second sentence are saying, you can refer to us. We put our names on the ballot. We put ourselves up here at this table. But if we took out the part where it speaks to specific individuals, that could open it up to anybody that's not a board member. And so I wouldn't be in favor of taking that part off of the rules for speaking.
And we don't have not reference or make derogatory comments about specific individuals,
Right.
racial comments, obscenities, vulgarities,
And we have here, well, not the gossip,
right? And we don't
abusive and vulgar
not
language.
reference, make derogatory comments about specific anybody.
Yeah, down here.
I think I think we should take J and put that on the public comment cards and call it a day personally, if that's what our policy is. And I don't think these public comment cards have been updated since the policies were finalized.
We have not updated it since 2019.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense that the cards need to be updated if the policies were.
And Robin, your titles change. You're the executive administrative assistant. This is the word.
I would be in favor of just putting J on it. I think,
So where it says refrain from racial, bullet number 2, put J in its entirety.
because Rachel, you're right, then the
Be so
board
small.
chair can rule that what you just said about one of the board members is defamatory and you're out of order.
Mhm.
Right? That's what, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the board chair that's the main job of the chair is to run the meeting efficiently. So
Meeting, right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, the font is gonna be so small, you're hardly gonna be able to read anything in this public comment card. So, maybe since these haven't been updated, is there anything else on this card that this policy committee might recommend? Either condensing or changing,
let me take a look.
okay?
And I will say that it has been very difficult to get information. People don't fill out the public comment cards to give address and email so that we can respond back. So if there's not a telephone number
Right?
to say, so what's your handwriting say? Because I can't read your address or can't read your email. So it has made it very difficult to respond back because we can't read what's on the card.
Williams.
And the chair in both instances, they have not been where it's like our rule says if you don't fill out the card, you have to speak. Well, nobody has enforced that. Everybody lets everyone speak.
Right.
So no one really enforces that. So
But you have to have the email in order to acknowledge.
we're supposed to have,
Right, I
we're
remember, 'cause you
supposed to
said
have,
I remember that.
but
Yeah.
we're not getting, so,
So,
in Williams' hands.
okay, Mr. Smith?
Well, on that card, I remember one time they used to have where you work at. Is that still on there? Your job, your occupation?
No,
No.
sir, it's not.
No, it's phone, email, date, topic, name, address, phone, email, date, topic.
Okay, let me ask, what about this part in the beginning? Robin, does anybody ever fill out of whether or not they have spoken to the teacher? So see this whole section right here?
Nope,
I'm just wondering that the legibility is a problem, right?
correct.
Is it possible that if the front of the card was all the information, name, address, phone, email, date, and topic, which gave people more room to write it, then on the back of the card is,
Just for that, the rules.
right, kind of bring some of that forward if we're gonna include all of J, because otherwise it's gonna be so tight, you're not gonna be able to read anything. So do we even need this part here? We encourage all citizens to follow our district's chain of communication. If they're here to talk, you know, they don't necessarily want to have to say, well, I've already, you know, put it in. Is this worthwhile? Is this helpful or not? Rachel?
Yeah, I think actually, so that whole section is somewhat addressed in our new policy change where we allow the chair to direct the superintendent to respond to a person who gives a public comment. So, you know, if we hear someone get up and speak and it's a classroom related issue or a school related issue, the superintendent now is able to be directed to address with that. So I don't think that section is necessary anymore. I think it's obsolete.
Right. And Rachel, that was postponed, so that's
Oh,
not
right.
a new post policy yet. I think that's gonna be under some further discussion. Even so, I just don't know. Kathy used to write the thank you emails, Rob, and you get them. I mean, seriously, does anybody fill that out?
No,
No,
I don't think it's,
People don't do it, huh?
So we could either, Rachel, you were gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna say, I think, I mean, again, it's, I don't think, if someone has taken the time to come to a school board meeting and, you know, the district staff or we hear them give comments and it's something that can be sourced to a different line of communication and we don't deal with it, you know, shame on us.
Right.
So I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, so that helps a bit. I think that people might fill the front out a little better if they have more room, okay? It doesn't help us if we keep everything on the back. So maybe now let's look at the back of the card. Is there some of this we might want to bring forward to the front? Why do we even have to repeat Beaufort County Board of Education public comment card? We've already got that on the front. So
Okay,
rules for speaking could be
Yeah.
brought up to the top.
Right.
William?
I think we can have less rules and stuff on those cards, and also I think if we need to, we can make the cards bigger. I mean, not that you hate to, but I mean, if we need to make them half pages or something, then I mean, I don't see a problem with that. But I think it's also about the computer programming and how you word it and how you use the space on the card for the person who's ever creating those cards. Maybe those cards may need to be recreated or something. In terms of space and what needs to be what was be on the front and what would be on the back. Just simply deleting some of those information. I think it's always great to have a email and a phone number, definitely. You know, and then I mean, and then some people don't even know their district. I mean, if maybe you can put a district number or something, and that would tell you know what area they're possibly from. But other than that, I really don't see a need to get rid of we need to get rid of everything, but I just think that we could possibly maybe change the font and change how the size of the card. That may be more positive. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Girls.
Mr. Campbell?
A lot of the stuff on the back of this, we could get rid of that. The chair can say a lot of that stuff. Tell them what they cannot do, and if they do it, what the consequences are. We don't need it on the card. We don't need it in the policy.
Okay, those some good thoughts. William, is your hand up again?
I actually had,
Kathy?
I actually had the opposite thought, Earl. I was thinking that we added the thing here, as a speaker, I agree to confine comments to issues, refrain, not exceed, complete this card, because, you know, they get up there and they go beyond their 3 minutes. But if, to me, it's kind of like, by completing this card, or as a speaker, I agree to this. Does that give us a little bit more? I'm not sure, but because, you know, we have certain people who don't agree to it and just carry out, but we don't have anything where we could say, hey, you agreed to this, you signed this card. And by adding that, I don't know. Just a thought.
Rachel?
I was gonna say, kind of to that vein, there is the section at the bottom that talks about, at the request of the presiding officer, individuals who violate expectations, blah, blah, blah. I have a couple comments. One is, you know, this is there to let them know what will happen if they do go outside of that. But there is additional information on here that is not within our policy. So I want to draw attention to that. It talks about, we may request the removal of them from the boardroom by law enforcement, and that's not in our policy. So it should not be on the public comment card if it's not in our policy, or if someone can point me to it, that'd be great. But I think it's stemming from, what is this? Roman numeral 4B under this GC, where it does say they can, you know, be prohibited for a period of 6 months, but the whole point about removal, I don't know that.
That's just been there forever, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it in the policy either.
And that's not necessarily something we want law enforcement to do. So Rachel, I think I would agree. I would take that part out.
It's a lot more extra language that probably doesn't need to be in there.
Yes. Request the removal of the participant from the meeting. The boardroom, we're not in a boardroom necessarily. And just end it there.
That should the participant fail to abide, that's in there.
Yeah, you can,
Under
after 6
4B.
months, leave it there.
Yeah,
Okay,
this
good.
one's basically the only part that's in our actual policy right now.
Right, and so we could take out that, the words "and district grounds by law
Right.
enforcement," and take out "full policy can be provided upon request."
You
I
take
mean-
that out, yeah.
I mean,
It's all public information,
all
you can
public,
access it
right.
anytime.
that will give us a little more room on the back there,
Yeah.
to add in, GC, what is that, GC? It's J, but what is it, GC what?
GC. Probably 2, it's GC, come on, roll up.
J,
Yeah, but what's that, GC 2?
oh, GC,
I gotta look it up, yeah.
I think it's 3. Is it 3?
Let's
Sorry.
see.
It's
That's
GC
okay, start it right here. If you find it first, let me know.
GC 223.
Here we go. This one will be 2. Yeah, GC 2. No, GC 2 is the wrong one. GC 2.
Yes. J,
20.
GC 2J.
You see to J.
is what we were gonna add in there.
There's gotta be a number there before that.
One,
Two, Roman numeral
two,
two.
Roman, oh, geez, Louise.
Yeah, 23 Roman numeral 2.
Yes,
23 Roman numeral 2.
J.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have
boy.
to-
So GC 2.23 2J,
J.
right?
Yeah,
Roman numeral 2J. Got it. GC 2.23 Roman numeral 2J. Is going to be included. Okay, so let's just review this and see if this is the recommendation we'll bring to the board.
But then we also have 4B about if they fail. Oh, no,
It's already on.
it's already in there. Okay, we got it.
So on the front of the card, we are going to take out that entire paragraph, we encourage all citizens, okay?
right.
And we are going to make where people can put in their information larger, so it might be more legible. On the back of the card, we're going to take off the heading that says Beaufort County Board of Education Public Comment Card, because it's already on the front. Rules for speaking will be pushed up to the top. We will add GC 2.23 Roman numeral 2J to the bullets. We will take out,
K is the 3 minutes. Do you think that?
I think we're good with leaving. We're taking out the second bullet and putting in that GC.
We're putting the whole,
Right,
we're putting
right.
J in
Right,
instead of the
right.
second bullet.
And it already says not exceed 3 minutes. Wendy said.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, under Roman numeral 2, participants must, it's A, B, C, there's a
Right.
bunch of it, right?
There- I think they're in there. I went through and kind of checked through. I think
2,
Right.
A
here.
for them,
Yeah.
yeah,
2J.
but you can have more than that too. I mean, about filling out the card and all that, I don't know, I'm just saying.
Well, this is the card we're talking
Right.
to, so.
So
yeah,
okay,
that-
okay.
Okay, so I'm sorry, but the fourth bullet, it says board administrative assistant, is that the word we're using?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Complete this card, including providing one or more specific topics. And submit to the board administrative assistant. Is that what we're?
Executive
for
administrative
right?
assistant, executive administrative assistant.
So it didn't.
Whatever your title is, we'll put the right title in there, okay? And also, I'm sorry, guys, but back to the front. Where it says topic, should it be topic and then put a little S in parentheses, because it's more than one, because it's references on the back, one or more topics.
So I could put topic or put S in parentheses.
Yeah,
right, so it's
Yeah,
right,
okay.
okay?
Mhm.
And then the last paragraph, we are taking out,
Request the removal of the participant from the boardroom and district grounds by law enforcement. Full policy can be provided upon request. Yeah. So that's the only thing in that.
Also leave the
Right.
meeting instead of boardroom. That first sentence,
So change it to leave the meeting.
I think so. So-
request the removal of the participant from the. Can say board meeting versus boardroom, okay? Period. And we're taking out everything after that, correct?
Let me read it to make sure.
Okay,
So at the bottom, at the request of the presiding officers, individuals who violate the expectations of the board during public comments will be asked to cease speaking and return to their seats or to leave the board meeting, period. Should the participant fail to abide by the reasonable directives of the presiding officer, the board may prohibit the offending speaker from participating in further public comment sessions for a period not to exceed 6 months, period.
Yeah, I'm
Excellent.
trying
Yeah,
to-
thanks for that loud, Robin,
Yeah.
that really helps.
But will be asked to see speaker. Yep, that's under 23 Roman numeral 4 A and B, so.
William's hands up.
William?
I'm kind of concerned in the event that we do ask someone to prohibited from speaking because does that I'm concerned that that may violate their amendment rights. And I'm not sure that we should or are able to do that. So that does concern me. I think we would need some legal there's some legal questions there. Do we have that right to stop someone from their freedom of speech?
I think, I certainly don't want to do it, but I think that we do because it's our meeting. It's not, we're not out in public. It's a public meeting, but it's our meeting and public comments are not required. We're not required to have public comments. It's good practice. I never, advocate for not having them, but it's not a requirement.
And so David's words, remember David, what did he always say? It is a meeting in public, not a public meeting.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a good point, William,
Yeah.
and everything, but I do think that we are within our rights to have an orderly meeting and to have rules around public comment.
Almost definitely, I do agree with what you're saying, but I just want to make sure that we're just in a safe space. That's all.
Totally, yeah.
And Mr. Smith, thank you, and Jill and I will double check that too,
Yeah.
and see if there's any case law about it, so thank you. It's a good point.
All right, so by doing this, our policy and our public comment card are in alignment. So that was the purpose of this. Any other comments about the public comment? Robin, is the second period one different?
No, it's the same.
Okay, good.
The same,
Okay,
Different color.
just different color, and this is second period.
so the changes will be made on that one as well.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, everybody. The next item is future meeting dates, and two people on this committee will not be at the board next year, and I'm not sure we need another policy meeting prior to the end of the year. What's on our list here? All right, public comments. Okay, announcements. I think we kind of, at our last policy committee meeting, we thought it was something that David was interested in, but we decided that we weren't going to go forward with that.
So we're gonna take that off the list.
Facility use for funerals and monitoring reports. How could they be reported out?
So the monitoring reports are actually, it's gonna come to the work session. This was what Kathy, you and Melvin went to, when you went to the conference.
Yeah,
And these are the reports that they said that we should be using
okay.
in reporting out for monitoring reports. So actually, these are gonna come to the work session. So
Okay.
that's the board, so I can actually take it off.
Yeah, I would.
Is that like a new form, Robin, or?
It's the form that we should have been using.
Okay,
Okay,
I need to get one of those because I have to monitor.
so the only thing left on our
The
topics.
board has not agreed to it yet.
Oh, okay.
That's what- yeah.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. So just use what we have, okay.
The only thing left on our future topics is facility use for funerals, and that was brought up a couple months ago as a request for a discussion on that. I think I'd feel better letting new board members make a decision about that. And the policy committee can look way different. It will look different. So I don't know that we even set a date. Is there anything you want, Kathy, that we should? Rachel, what are your thoughts?
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Or discussion or work session about payments.
I think
They moved it to the policies.
They moved it. to
they
policy,
did,
okay.
yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Anything else for the good of the committee, Kathy or Rachel?
No,
No?
ma'am, it's been a pleasure serving with you ladies.
Same
I agree.
here,
We're
Rachel.
gonna miss you
Same here.
so much.
All right, thank you. We'll see you Tuesday.
Yeah, okay.
Tuesday, yeah. All right, bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
I adjourned at 2:20.
Meeting adjourned. Yep.